There's a diner in Montana. You will find it on Google Maps. There's no address, no phone number. Locals call it the 99. It's been there for almost 70 years, just the same as ever. It's a place where truckers stop during long drives through the lonely highways, but no one talks about what happens inside. Not because they forget, but because they remember too well. One evening, a woman named Jordan, in her mid-30s, with sharp eyes and tired looks, pulls into the parking lot in a red rental car. She's not from around here. In fact, she's never even been to Montana. She's a freelance investigative journalist who goes after stories that no one else wants to cover. That morning, she got an anonymous email. Go to the 99. Ask for the night special. Stay until 2:14 a.m. Whatever you do, don't leave early. Most people would ignore something like that. But Jordan? She printed it, packed her recorder, and drove 5 hours from her motel in Billings. The diner was almost empty when she entered. One man in a booth, his face down in coffee. A waitress behind the counter older, with gray hair tied back, and a look in her eyes that said she knew more than she should. Jordan sat at the counter, ordered a coffee. Then she said the words like they were part of a spell. I'll have the night special. The waitress didn't blink, just nodded slowly and walked toward the kitchen. Nothing happened for a while. She sipped her coffee, recorded a few voice notes. Midnight came and went. Then at 12:33, the man in the booth looked up. He had no eyes, not like they'd been gouged or broken. Just smooth skin where eyes should be, like he was born that way. Don't run, he said, voice calm, too calm. It's not real. Not yet. Jordan froze. The lights flickered. For a split second, she saw movement in the reflection of the chrome napkin holder on the counter. A child standing behind her. When she turned, no one. She wanted to leave. Everything in her body screamed to go. But she remembered the email. Don't leave early. 1:04 a.m. The waitress brought out the plate. A single slice of blueberry pie. Nothing else. Jordan stared at it. It's warm, the waitress said, like that explained everything. Jordan took a bite. The room shifted. Not visibly, but she felt it, like gravity had suddenly changed direction. The booths behind her were filled now, with people. No, not people. Figures. Some wore suits with no faces. One had an upside-down head. Another whispered nonsense into a cup of salt. Her breathing quickened. She clutched her recorder, but it was gone. 1:47 a.m. The man with no eyes stood and walked toward her. Every step he took echoed louder than it should have. He leaned in close. How you're watching? Jordan tried to speak, but her voice didn't work. She couldn't even feel her throat. The waitress leaned over and whispered something only she could hear. Time's not a straight line in here. It bends for those who ask too many questions. 2:14 a.m. Everything stopped. Silence. Then the buzz. Her phone lit up on the counter. A new email. From the same anonymous sender. You stayed. You passed. She blinked, and suddenly the diner was empty again. The booths. The man. The waitress. Gone. Just her. Alone. And the recorder, back in her pocket. She ran outside into the cold night air, heart pounding. Looked back. The diner? Gone. Only her car remained. And a long, quiet road. 2 days later, she played the recording. Static. At first. Then a voice. Her voice. But she hadn't said those words. I shouldn't have stayed. I shouldn't have eaten the pie. If you're hearing this, don't go looking. There's no story worth this. The file cut off. Jordan never published the story. She never mentioned the 99 again. But every now and then, she checks her email. Because deep down, she knows someone's still watching. And the next message might not give her a choice. Eric hadn't slept well for weeks. He stopped trying to explain it. The diner, the woman, the loops, the fading image of Ava. His friends thought he was sad because of what happened. Maybe he was, but not in the way they could understand. There was one thing he couldn't get out of his head, the feeling that the crash didn't end things, it started something. One night, he found himself driving without knowing why. Rain was hitting his windshield, making the road ahead hard to see. He held the wheel tightly. Then, suddenly, there it was again. The bright neon sign. Open 24 hours. Same light. Same crooked sign. Same impossible diner that shouldn't be there. But this time, it wasn't empty. He walked inside. The smell of coffee and pie. A song playing softly on the jukebox, something from the 1960s. Everything looked too clean, too frozen in time. And in the far booth, she was there. Ava. She looked just like she had before the crash, tired, but still beautiful. I couldn't bear it, he whispered. The guilt, it broke something in me. I know, she said. But you have to let me go now. You have to live. Ava stood. She walked around the booth. She placed something in his hand, the napkin from before. Now it read, "Go home. And don't come back." Eric blinked and she was gone. So was the diner. He was standing on the side of a road. No crash. No rain. Just the faint smell of coffee in the air and a deep ache in his chest. He turned to find his car parked behind him. Lights off. Keys in ignition. The world felt normal again. But something inside him had changed. A final piece had fallen into place. Months passed. He started sleeping again. He went back to work. He began volunteering at a local shelter, Ava's favorite cause. He even smiled sometimes. And though he still drove by that stretch of road once in a while, the diner never returned. Because it didn't need to. It had done its job. Sometimes healing doesn't come with answers. It comes with acceptance. And some places, no matter how real they feel, only exist so we can find our way out of them. Real. Eric sat down across from her. They didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she said, "You came back." "I never left," he replied, his voice shaking. "Or maybe I did. I don't know what's real anymore." "This is the last time," Ava said softly. "The last chance." He looked around. There were no clocks, no waitresses, no food, just the hum of electricity and the feeling of something still not finished. "I need to know," Eric said. "Was this my punishment? For forgetting? For running?" Ava shook her head. "It was your mind's way of keeping you alive until you were ready." "Ready for what?" "To forgive yourself." The walls began to flicker, the diner shivering like it was falling apart. Distant thunder rolled. "You didn't kill me, Eric," Ava said gently. "It was an accident. You weren't speeding. You weren't distracted. You held my hand until the very end. You just never let yourself remember that." Eric's eyes filled with tears.